Hey everyone, this is me unedited. I recently came back to Guild Wars 1 and I just wanted to replay Prophecies and I have the North and stuff and I kind of made a build that I enjoy playing a lot. I thought I could share it because I didn't see it on PVX or anywhere and I think it's really fun to play and it is kind of pretty effective as well. So if you want to see it in action, just skip along a little bit. If you want to see what it contains, here is a brief overview. We've got a sniper ranger concept with a fire bow, of all things, with marksmanship +1. And the whole purpose of the build is to make big number appear and make your brain go, delicious. And you'll see soon it does output pretty good numbers, triple digits pretty consistently. The premise of it is that you buff yourself with Conjure Flame, with Expert's Focus and Expert's Dexterity, and then you start shooting fast. You take less energy per shot. And these 4 attacks, these are the juice of the build. Sloth Hunter's Shot does, on average, plus, 63 damage on an arrow? You would say, well, if it's not activating a skill and people are activating skills all the time, well, yeah, monsters don't usually spam skills, so you oftentimes shoot it and land it without them activating anything, and you get the full benefit of the attack. Keen Arrow, obviously, probably the most damage-heavy attack on Ranger, I guess along with Sloth Hunter. And that's actually the reason the critical hit condition is the reason why I have the marksmanship +1 here. I'm trying to max out marksmanship as that raises the crit chance for the bow. Although, now that Anniversary came out, I could probably replace it with of the Assassin bow grip for +5, what was it? Critical strikes for +5 crit chance. But I think marksmanship still works just fine because it also buffs up the numbers on these attacks anyway. And finally, all of these 3, well, except for Keen Arrow, the Sloth Hunter has a low cooldown. Keen Arrow has a low cooldown. Penetrating Attack has a very low cooldown and a very high cost. And Armor Pen, which is great, and it has a very quick cast that also cancels aftercast of the other attacks, which is awesome. But the energy, right? What do we do with the energy? Well, first of all, Expert's Focus, right, reduces the cost of all bow attacks by 2, which is awesome. And also the Body Shot. It is a pretty heavy hitting attack, with also a low cooldown, and you get 10 energy if the enemy has cracked armor. Here is where a small hero comp comes into play. Nothing too complicated at all. You have a choice pretty much of whether you want to run a Necro with, let me just check, with Curses, I believe, where they have, where is that skill? There's a skill that applies AoE cracked armor. Oh, there it is, weaken armor. You can either run a Curses Necro, which is completely fine, or I accidentally made a pretty fun build for my Elementalist, because I do love like non-human characters in the party, so I was trying to make some cool builds for all those characters. And Zed, for me, runs Master of Magic with a bunch of water and air spam, where he spams low cooldown water curses that then get followed up with cracked armor, like you see here. Tenai's Crystals causes cracked armor if it's cursed with water magic. Great. This one does extra damage with a water magic hex. This one applies cracked armor. This is health degen if cracked armor. Most of these, actually, hold on. 2 of these, the Rust and Tenai's Prison, also utilize Elemental Flame, which applies burning, which is nice because then you just get some energy back. So it's a pretty decent build. Zed is pretty good on energy and all that stuff, and all he needs really is energy storage. And the rest of them, this build followed up from another build from PVX where it was just all curses and it's all burning, and that one utilizes the Prismatic Rune, so you get a bunch of armor for 9 stats, or 9 points on each stat. So that's why the stat spread is like this. Otherwise I'd put everything in energy storage. Anywho, so Zed applies a bunch of cracked armor in AoE, which means that pretty much every time I hit Body Shot, I get that 10 energy back. And it costs, I think, 2 because expertise reduces my skill cost by over 40%, over 50% actually. And this one reduces skill cost by another 2 energy, which is, like, body shot it costs nothing. It restores a lot of energy. But yeah, that's it. And then to compensate for the fact that this build doesn't do AoE, you run, and this is optional. I was running without Olivia for a long time, and then I added her and things started to go completely berserk. You add in Necro Burster with death effects, specifically Putrid Bile. Does damage when the enemy dies. Rising Bile does damage, again, in an AoE, by the way. Rising Bile does damage in an AoE when the hex ends, which the hex ends when the enemy dies, right? So that's good. This one does damage near a corpse continuously, which, now that I think about it, is probably not the best pick, to be fair, but whatever. She does Bone Veins just to get us some frontline, and Icy Veins, same thing as the other 3 skills, or the other 2, sorry. It does initial damage and then explodes when the enemy dies. So we have 3 things that explode when the enemy dies. To be honest, I could replace Bone Fiends with something like Putrid Explosion, and then it just becomes one of the, I think, very close to a PVX build. But I like it like this. Anyway, that's roughly how it works. So my team applies cracked armor, it explodes things when they die, and my job is just to make things die. That's effectively how we work. And then Paya kind of helps me with it. Paya, I just run him because I like Paya, he's cool, but his build is kind of mid, to be fair. But still. Anyway, let's run. For context, also I want to say I'm not a hardcore gamer. I don't, like, manipulate my heroes. I don't micromanage shit. I just have these open just to see their energy status and, you know, stuff like that to see if we're doing well or not. I don't do this all the time because it's annoying to me. I just run in and kill shit. So for that reason, there's a lot of optimizations to be done, I'm sure. Did I get the buff? I got the buff. Yeah, Conjure Flame also lasts a lot, a long time. So you can apply it preemptively, and then you just open with the Sloth Hunter shot. If they didn't touch out of the way. You saw that, right? The 128 damage. Oh god. This is a poor performance. When my arrows land, they do a lot of damage. The only trouble is that they need to land. They're not landing because I'm running a flat bow, because I like a fast attack rate and a long range. But as you see, that sometimes suffers from enemies being dodgy. And you saw right there, my energy dropped a lot and then just got all the way back up, which is thanks to this, the body shot. You also can see me being a bit lousy with reapplications of Expert's Dexterity and Expert's Focus, but that's because usually, if I know the fight is going to end soon, I don't bother reapplying them, to be fair. I'm okay with running out of energy. Especially like in this wide open area. Jesus Christ, they're annoying. Okay. Okay, guys. 142. That is disgusting. This is exactly why I love this build. I love seeing those huge numbers, because basically by doing like all 4 attacks that you have, you can pretty much 100% to 0 most enemies. Or at least bring them below 50% for your Necros to use the Signets, for every other little bit of damage to completely break them down. It is very high spike. Alright, there's no way that he's gonna dodge, right? Yoink. Yoink. The way I use it with the rotation, usually, you know how penetrating attack cancels the aftercast, right? So you can immediately press it after... Okay, if you could only see the character. Yeah, he died. You can press it immediately after any other skill, and that kind of just cramps together the damage, as in applies it faster, and at the same time leaves you doing something rather than doing nothing after casting a long attack. So I usually do attack, penetrating attack, then 2 attacks penetrating attack, and then you kind of get into cadence of 2 attacks penetrating shot. You can, because we're using a fire bow and a conjure fire and all that stuff, you can run into situations where fire resistance is quite high, which is fine. And you still, I went through Prophecies, the end game of Prophecies, when you have a lot of Titans, Fire Elementals and all that stuff, and I was still hitting 80 plus per shot pretty much every arrow. Because most, like 99% of the arrows you shoot are skills, right? And they apply a lot of damage regardless, especially the penetrating one, and especially the sloth hunting shot. They are so strong. Right now I'm just on the way to Ula's lab. I need to finish that quest. And I like Baia jumping forward because he kind of takes aggro a little bit off the team. You obviously kind of don't want to be in the front line. Again, right now I'm sort of not giving a fuck because, well, we have Zandra, we have Master of Whispers, we have a bunch of like meta healing comp and stuff like that, so it's okay. But speaking of prophecies, by the way, there's that mission, actually a series of missions with a bunch of seals and everything, where you need to destroy energy draining seals. They have regen, and it usually like takes a pretty big burst to take them down with the team. I soloed them being out of their range entirely. With a flat bow, with this amount of damage, with no like poison burning or any other conditions at all, this build just out DPSs it easily. You could run into issues where targets block arrows, and yeah, that's annoying. If you were smarter than me, you'd probably equip something that lets you be unblockable, like maybe a different reparation, or a Norn skill that lets you be unblockable. But I'm too lazy. I made a build and I stick with it. At least for a while, at least to hit a roadblock, or at least until I'm bored of this. So I think I'm gonna keep this demo until I find the boss and kill the boss. Also, I don't want to be in here. This is too close for my liking. Blindness is another issue, but blindness, again, with a good healing setup, you're usually cured of it pretty quickly, so long as you're not, you know, eating a bunch of spells and just tanking everything, you'll be fine. Again, I'm a super casual guy. This is whatever. Casual only in terms of, like, you know, mechanics and stuff. I do love buildcraft. I'm really shit at it in this game, but I do love it. That's why I keep coming back to the game all the time. Alright, let's find a boss. There should be a Wind Rider boss, I think. Yeah, over there. Let's get him. Oh no, they're gonna join the fight. Oh, this is not good. Oh no. Yoink. Yoink. 149, 132. Yeah, like that was huge damage. Okay, without having an army of mesmers, and as you can see I'm actually running 0 mesmers. It's kind of like a hardcore way of playing, I guess, in current meta. But yeah, mesmers are too strong. I want to make something cooler and more interesting than that. So anyway, you saw the damage. I hope you do like the build. It is very low cooldown. You always are pressing buttons, but it's not super spammy like Dervish. Dervish Pious Renewal, I think, is another build I was running. That one is too spammy, too quick. But this one is just very cool, very casual, and you see big numbers often. So yeah, hope you have fun. See ya.